Hello, it's me, and I thought I would round out some 5-layer supercube mods to see. Just on the heels of doing the 4-layer dodecahedron, I've got two types of 5-layer dodecahedrons to show / demonstrate / solve. You've got the 5-layer mod of a 5-layer cube, where each face is not the true face. Like this isn't the true face is over here. So it shapeshifts. It pretty much does what a 5x5 does, but just with very specific orientations. This you saw me assemble. This is Klaus Winneker's production. Then you've got this. This is another kind of a dodecahedron. This is a rhombic dodecahedron, which does not shapeshift. This is by Sigurd Wedel. He did a very, very fantastic modification. I think this is from a V-cube, actually. You can see how smooth that it turns. There's no clicking mechanism. He dealt with that, I think, using maybe a pi modification. But in any case, it might be interesting to see the differences in terms of the solve, how the shape-shifting comes into it, how the supercube aspect comes into it, and how the fact that none of these are actual 5-layer true 5-layer dodecahedrons, in that they have false faces over here, and these are the true faces here. So just to demonstrate the motion, this is pretty much, this is large because it's glued onto the base 5-layer puzzle. Rather than go through an exhaustive solve, I'm going to just kind of skip around to the areas that you might be interested in, because a lot of you guys are getting 5-layer modifications and supercubes, and you're wondering about the last center and probably about the last side as well. So if I were to just go through the process of scrambling this here, you can do 180-degree scrambles. Very smooth moving puzzle because the base is very smooth moving. So we can move this over here, turn, turn, turn. Now the thing about shape-shifting, and I learned this early on when dealing with puzzles like this, is as long as you know what your centers are and as long as you know what your edges are and everything, you won't get locked up, because I know that these are centers. All these are centers, and they're going to maintain their configuration. So though shape-shifting is happening, you're still maintaining what a face is. So you can see that this moves very smooth. Klaus did an excellent job with his particular secret printer, I guess, which might not be much of a secret. Anyway, I'm going to continue to scramble this, but at the same time, I'm going to have this guy scrambled as well. Now notice as this is shape-shifting, when I start to scramble this guy here, no shape-shifting is involved. So from that standpoint, does it take the challenge down a bit? Does it make it easier? I don't think so. It makes it easier to follow, and the movement tends to be smoother because it doesn't get snagged as you're changing the shape of that. So I'm going to continue scrambling these two, and we will do a tandem 5-layer supercube solve. Abracadabra. Okay, here we go. Fully mixed up dodecahedrons of both sorts, both species here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit mostly the high points. You've seen me do other dodecahedrons in the past. This is to demonstrate, compare and contrast, and then decide how you'd want to move forward regarding whichever puzzle you think you might want. So starting off, of course, doing a reductive technique. It's strict 5x5 techniques doing reduction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the centers. The centers here and here, they share a similar characteristic in that you have a centerpiece, which guides you as to which one you want to do. This one has 4 colors to it. This one has 2 colors to it. So looking at this, you see this is green and red. I happen to have a green and red here. So turn this like so. I see another one over here as well. So really this is just a matter of positioning, repositioning. I'll put this over along here, and this can come down here. So we're good over here, and then turn this like this, and bring this up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue following suit, and it's pretty simple to visualize compared to maybe the 4x4, all greens, all reds. So I'm looking for these slanted pieces over here. So here's a green over here. I might as well put in the 1x3 bars first, and then slide them into place. What makes this puzzle nice is as you start to get more and more into these larger mods, it becomes something of an endurance event. It takes a long time to start putting things together. And that's okay as long as the puzzle itself moves well. There are some puzzles, there are some mods where the movement is not quite as good, and it becomes something of a tedious thing to have to not only take a while to move something, but to not have a great movement to begin with. This luckily does not suffer from that. So it's kind of a process where you just kind of sit back and just do the solve without having to worry about that. So this is in, now we do continue to do the red version. So this comes up over here. With a puzzle like this too, it's always fascinating to me as I'm solving it, just the sheer complexity of design. Now the cube itself, the base cube itself, obviously is not very complex. However, just the way these pieces fit together, how they function, to me is still very fascinating. Turn this over here. Now there's kind of a crowding process here too, where the more things I have glued together, the more crowded they are. And I expect things to fall out from time to time, which is fine. That just indicates to me that I have to glue it back in. So as I'm solving it, I'm actually testing it too. So we have a center over here. Now, unlike the 4-layer version, I had to figure out step by step which centers to put in next. This one I don't. I know it comes in. I know that this is the color that's next. So in that way, this makes it easier. Now imagine a 6x6 version where I'm currently in negotiation with getting one of those puppies, but imagine that I have all the challenges. See, this is the wrong side over here. All the challenges of putting centers where they're supposed to be, along with the marathon aspect of putting it in. Now you might think, well, okay, why do that? Why keep adding to the collection when really the solve isn't much different? Well, there is the process of a challenge that does increase with this too. There's also the notion that from an aesthetic standpoint, as a collector, just seeing something like this made, built, and being able to use it as a functional puzzle, a functional puzzle, is fascinating, and that's what appeals to the process of collecting. But it's more than just that too. Admittedly, there's a payoff that I'm looking for, and that payoff is the last 2 centers. With the last 2 centers, that's where the challenge really begins. So you sort of go through the process of putting things in. Actually, I want to bring this up to here. Let's move this out of the way first. You go through the process of doing this so that you can get to those challenge areas that I'm talking about. This over here. And like I say, it does flow pretty quickly, as you can see. And again, because of the multiple layers here, there we go. This comes here, and now this is going to move down into here. Okay, so 5-layer mod, just like any 5x5, I want to move this into here without messing up what I just did. And this is for the purposes of anyone who has 5-layer mods and wants to learn how to do it. So this moves in, and we bump this out of the way, and then we move this back over here. Okay, this is now moved in. But most of your questions, I'm sure, are going to come with how to organize the last 2 centers and how to variate the solve strategy. Okay, so again, in many ways, this is easier than the 4-layer version because things are pretty clear as to what goes where. We do have overlapping of some of our pieces here, so you just have to bear that in mind. It can get a little sticky sometimes. This is where lubrication is going to come in as well. And move this in like so. Turn, and now we turn this up like thus. So you can see very quickly we've got the first 2 centers here and here. The rest is just a matter of positioning and repositioning, of course. Now, it's not surprising that if I were to take a break and use this guy over here, it's not too different of a concept. Same kind of thing. Here, it's pretty easy to see all of your 1x3 bars. You can do 1x3 bars on here too. Now, there's certain equivalencies here. That's what's different about this puzzle. You've got a blue over, well, let's see. You can do a blue one over here. This guy over here perhaps, but this can be here or this can be here. The main difference with this puzzle is only one piece belongs here. There's specificity with this. That's why I didn't get that other kind of parity with the 4x4. With this particular dodecahedron, every center place has a specific place. With this dodecahedron, it doesn't. This could be here or this could be here. It's going to have importance at the very end of this particular solve. So if I had to start going through here, again, this is kind of the easy part. Just kind of what's your appetite for it. Right, Noah? He's back there somewhere. Back there somewhere. Let's see. Okay. Oh, over here. See, so I've got two to choose from here. And I can move this in like so. I gotta tell you, Sigurd did a really good job with this. It's a very smooth moving puzzle. The 1x3 bar is not quite as easy to visualize, but it's going to be blue and green, and then dark green and light green. So let's see if we can find those. Blue and green is over here, so this is going to come into here. So we can start putting in 1x3 bars here just for the purposes of making it happen. Here's a green here. So this takes a little bit more thought to find these things because I have to, it's not as apparent out here until I look at the center what goes where. So it has a little bit more searching that has to happen. This comes over to here, and now I've made my 1x3 bar pretty much. And now I'm gonna put it in. So go bang, and there it is over here. And we just keep following suit. Okay, so now I'm looking for, what am I looking for? Oh, actually, this bar over here. So again, not as easy to visualize. So adds that challenge a little bit. But it's gonna be purple with light green and blue abutting the sides of it. So I might as well find the purple one right here. And then I'm gonna be looking for ones with purple and light green. So I got this over here. We can certainly use this. We'll line this up with the proper purple. I just wanted to say proper purple in a sentence. I'm going to turn this over here. Okay, now again, technique, bring this up, put it in place, move it out of the way, and bring it down. This one I have to say moves a little bit smoother than the other, which is good. Now purple and green, see if I can find that. Happens to be right here, so this I can just turn into place. Okay, so that was just by way of demonstration of getting the first part of this in this rhombic dodecahedron. I do have a tutorial on the 4x4 rhombic dodecahedron, so we'll kind of compare and contrast. Now again, being an odd layer puzzle, the next side is really of no problem, no consequence. So what I can do is just start putting this 1x3 bar abutting the center, this over here, find an orange one, and with this I've got more than one yellow one, not orange, yellow, to choose from. This comes into here. So now I can do my 1x3 bars. Takes a little more concentration. This is one of the 1x3 bars over here, orange and yellow. I just have to match it up with the yellows, the oranges rather. So this is good over here, and then I'm going to do it with an orange and brown, which I should be able to find right over here. So 1, 2, well, actually move this up like this. 1, 2, turn. Well, we don't have to bump anything out of the way and just move this in. So this is coming into here, and it's truly that simple. So here's this is already lined up over here, so I just need the green and brown. So green and brown one happens to be here. Bump it out of the way, and then be sure to move this back, and now we can line these guys up here. What I really like about Sigurd's work here is that it moves so gently and so nicely. Okay, so very quickly you can see us building up the first two centers. Now here, with these centers, you can't really guide yourself too well what's supposed to be where. I know this is supposed to be here just because I've got the center one, but the orientation you would never know between these two. But this being a rhombic dodecahedron, I'm starting to fill in this false side over here so you can see this lining up over here. So I've got them both down to the last two centers, so let's compare and contrast how a sliced dodecahedron and a rhombic dodecahedron compare and see if maybe this might correlate with whatever mod that you might have. The way that I do the last two centers on mods that are greater than 4, if it was just a 4 layer, then I'd focus on one center like I did with the last one, and then put the last one in, like I did with a 4 layer rather, then put the last one in accordingly. This one I have to do it different. I have to actually break the last 2 centers down into 2 segments. One where you just deal with edge portions of the center, and the other is when you deal with the corner. We've already gone over how to do corner portions of the last 2 centers with the 4-layer dodecahedron. This one we're going to add these guys here. So what I'm going to do is focus on one and put them in accordingly. So I'm going to line this up over here, and I'm going to take this and move it down into here. So all that means is I'm going to bump this out of the way here. And now what I'm going to want to do is double turn it to bring this where it should be over here. So simple as that. 1, 2, and bring it in. So it's going to start very simple like that. So bang, here that is. Now I want to fill in these 2, which I'm going to do from up here. So I'm going to take this over to here, move this down. So this is in, double turn, and this takes this out. And splat. So right now it's a question of moving in, turning, and bringing it out. So the next one is a blue. Blue's over here. Now I can't move the blue in and then turn this because everything is positioned. So now I'm just going to cast the net out here to bring the blue one in. So cast it out here. Now bear in mind, one of the key differences here with the rhombic dodecahedron is I know exactly what centers go where. There's no equivalency. By equivalency I mean one center can go into 2 places. This is it. So now I've got kind of a cross situation here. What I'm going to do now is do the same thing over here. But the question is, how am I going to move these guys around to where they need to be? All of these are in the right layer, or in the right center, but they're not positioned correctly. And the way that I do this with odd layer centers, whether it's just one edge or you have 2 together, like if this were 6 by 6, which we'll be going over in the future, we move them all together as we would do any edge. So I would look at it like I would like a 3-layer puzzle, because there's an algorithm that I have to keep one edge the same and permute these guys over here, and that's at RU, RU, R2U, RI. So when doing a 5-layer or a 7-layer or anything where you're going to look at portions of the center as edges, either individually or collectively, which you'll find out, do it just like you would do edges of a 3-layer. So this is going to be up. This is going to be in front of me here, and I'm going to do RU, RU, R2U, RI until one of these are centered where they need to be. So that's R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, and RI. Okay, so what we have here is we've got a situation that you're not going to get with a 3x3. This is in and this is in. So how do we flip-flop these 2? Well, there's a couple ways that we can potentially do this, but suffice it to say, we wouldn't be able to do this in a situation of a normal 3x3. And that's because it's not really behaving like a normal 3x3. We're doing it kind of like that. So when you're in this situation and you have to swap these 2, we could do edge swap, but if we do that, we're going to end up causing parity, placement parity with these 2. These 2 are going to be swapped. We know that that's going to happen from previous experience. So how do we do this? Because I can't swap this without potentially swapping something else. Well, there is a way of getting out of this, of causing a swap without causing any center swaps, so to speak. And what that's going to mean is first get 2 that are in opposite each other. So put them opposite each other. So what that means is I'm going to now move this in this direction here, because what this is going to do is this is going to keep this here, and I'm going to keep doing the algorithm again until this guy is up to here. So it's going to be R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI. Okay, so what that did is that put this where we wanted it. Now the question is, okay, how do I deal with these two? Now this is the reason why I don't try to do the entire solve of the entire side until I get these in. Because when I do this next move, it's going to cause these two to swap. But the other swapping that's going to happen is going to be involving the corners here, which we don't care about right now. So here's how we're going to do that. Keep these at opposite ends here. So you've got the two that are in, keep them at opposite. And again, you can apply this to whichever mod that you have. And the two that need to swap, put them so that you have it on the right side and on the left side. Just do R to U, R to U, R to U, and you keep doing that until you get it back. R to U and R. And that will do great things for you because it'll swap these two and not cause any issues anywhere else. So that's how you get out of that. Now it did other things to the corners, which is why you didn't want to mess with that yet. So, but in any case, that'll swap those two for you. Now once you have that, then you can start focusing on the corners, because now we're just doing what we did with the 4x4. And the algorithm to do that is the same, which is a corner swapping algorithm, and is really just a variation of the whole turn in, position it, turn out kind of a thing that we were doing. So how do we coordinate doing this? Well, this obviously belongs here as opposed to here. It's the right color, but it's the wrong position. This belongs here as well. So let's see what we can do. Most of these are already in, as you can see on this side. So we could focus maybe on this one as the base one. Although we put the edges in here first, we can maybe focus on the corners here because most of those are in. So as I turn this here, what I want to do is fill in as much as I can, and I want to put the pink one in over here. So here's the pink. So the algorithm that I'm going to use to make this happen, I'm going to turn this over here, and just as kind of a quick review, what this algorithm does is it takes this and puts it here, this goes here, and this goes here. So in actuality, if I wanted to put this pink one down to here, I would just move this like so. And this algorithm will take this and put it here, and this will come over here. Now, you notice I'm going to be putting this out, but that's actually okay. I don't mind doing that, because what I'm looking for is to put two corners in that are next to each other. This is going to play another role later. So I'm just going to do this for the purposes of taking this and putting this over here. And that algorithm, as you recall, is going to be R U L I U I R I UI and L. I might have said it wrong, but anyway, that's what it is. So upon doing that, this is now in. So focusing on the one side, focusing on that, what I want to do is now put another one in, because the side that's up here, only one of these are going to be affected. So I'm trying to put it to where I have one that's affected over here. So what I've got is I want to put a green one over here. So if I move this over here, this green one will end up here. But is it the right green one? Is it the correct green one? And the answer is yes, because I can move this over here. And if I move this down just to check it, I can see that this is correct. So I'll move this over here. So do the algorithm again. R. Okay, so it did indeed put everything in except one. So now this is going to be the one on the top. Because if I do this as I do this algorithm, only this guy is going to be affected. So I can start moving things in for the bottom one over here. So where does this go? Well, this is going to go over to here. So here's the problem though. If I do that algorithm, this is going to be completely solved, and I'll just have one over here. But that's okay, because I can continue to bounce this in and out. So let's put this down here, and then I'm going to want to put the other orange one over here. So this is a very useful strategy, a very useful algorithm. And you can see this is all solved up here, but that's okay. We're not quite done yet. Now that I have this here, what I'm going to do is I want to, well, what do I want to do? I can move this up for the purposes of putting it down over here because it's going to end up over here. So why don't we go ahead and put this up so I can put it down over here. Might be easier actually to visualize this, so instead I'll do this one here. What's going to happen is that this will slide over here, which is where it needs to be, and this will end up over here. So once again, so actually that did a couple things here. This moved this into position so I can look at this as the two corners that are in. Once I have that, if I bring this down here, this will not be phased out, so this is fine over here. This won't be touched. And now it's a question of three cycling a bunch of stuff. So if I move this over here, the next thing that'll happen, this will come down here, this will come here, and this will come here, and everything will be in. And that's the ease of this kind of a puzzle. No parities exist. First off, it's even layered. First off, it's odd layered, so there's no problems with that. Second of all, everything has a specific place, so there's no false equivocation. So let's go ahead and put this in. So we have R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, and L. So in this kind of puzzle, we were able to make short work of the last two centers pretty easily by doing it like that. So if you have a 4-layer mod, or 5-layer mod rather, that has complete independence or complete identity of all the places, in other words, there's only one place for these centers to go, that's how you can do it. So all of these are fine. Now let's translate that into this little guy over here. Let's use the same strategies, but now we have an issue potentially of equivalency, because you can see these two centers here, and all your two centers are going to share pieces. Now how would this potentially enter into things? Well, let's find out. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start getting one center with all of the center edges in. This pink is already here, so let's see what's up over here. We've got purple here, we've got this one that's in, so we have light blue over here. So I'm just going to turn this over here, turn this down, double turn to get it out of the way, and turn this back up. Now I just need the red one in. So because these are already in, I need to cast this up here, move the red one into position, and then bring it down. Alright, so good, 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 and good. Upon doing that, let's see what we have here. This is in, and this is in, and now I have to switch these two. So right now I've got the same situation happening with those. Okay, now here's something that I'm wondering though. Because I have equivalencies, maybe I can kind of get out of that situation. Maybe I can use the fact that this pink and this pink are really the same. I can take a little shortcut. I don't have to do that situation where I put two that are out, two that are in opposite each other, so I have a blue here and a pink here, and then the white's going to be here and the blue's going to be here, or whatever. Then just do my R2U, R2U, R2U. Let's make use of the fact that it doesn't matter which ones I put in. So I'm just going to move this up here so it's where it needs to be. Turn this, move it down, and that's all I had to do. Because now this is the same, and now these are in. So I'm using the equivalency to my advantage. So if you have something where all the centers are exactly the same, you might more than likely have to run into that situation where you do that algorithm. Here, I was able to get out of that. But there may be a price to pay. So now that I have these in here, and I didn't have to do RU, R2U, RI, or I didn't have to do the R2U, 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 now we're just going to do the corners. So too we've got this one that's already in. So I'm going to want either this one in or this one in. This one belongs over here, so I'm not going to do that one. How about the blue and brown? Where's that? That's right over here. So I'm going to put this in position. If I do that algorithm, this is going to be messed up, but at least I'm going to have this over here, so I'll have one solid side here. So you're going to try to put two corners in place so you can move it down and it'll keep it out of the way. So the same algorithm. It's going to be U, R, LI, UI, or rather U rather, RI, UI, and L. Okay, so that's all fine over here. I can move this down. So now it's a matter of three cycling the right one. This can come up to, well, let's put this in place. Let's actually start focusing on that a little more. With the next one, this is going to come in here and this whole thing will be solved. But that's okay. We're going to have to end up taking it out anyway, but this is going to come up to here, and it'll put the right one in over here. So this is going to be R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. As promised, this is solved, but doesn't really matter. We've got this here. I'm just going to turn this upside down, so I'm only affecting one. Now I want to move, say, this up so I can move it down here. So that's what I'm going to do. So now that I have this up here, let's put it in position. Well, actually, I guess I don't need to do that because these two came into position. That was an unexpected bonus. So now I can put this over here. Okay, so these are in position because this one slid over here. So now I just have these 3 cycles to do. Can I easily do that? Well, this will come over here and be solved. This will come over here and be solved. And this will come over here and be solved. So once again, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L, and there you have it. So we're able to do the last 2 centers. Now, this is the very basic way of how to deal with edges and corners of the last 2 centers. Now, as we move on to 6-layer and 7-layer and 8-layer puzzles, they're going to be in the form of all corners, but eventually corners are going to come together to look like edges. So this is the very basic in terms of how to do that.